Welcome back to the D1Softball podcast, part of the Learfield family and Varsity Network. I'm Jenna Becerra, alongside my amazing co-host, Amanda Lorenz. And before we jump in, just a reminder that when you're out of town and you want to keep up with live college sports, be sure to download the free Varsity Network app. Available for both Apple and Android. Get your games on the go with the Varsity Network app. And it seems like March Madness, I know we're in April, but March Madness wrapped up, Amanda, and you're kind of happy about it, to say the least.
Yeah, I couldn't be happier. It's cool to see the Gators on top. You know, it's just, you love to see your people win. I don't know anybody, but they're my people.
Yeah, I got you. It's automatic. You don't even need to explain, it's just there.
Love it.
Fair enough. Well, and now we're in April, which is crazy to say for softball season. So but still have plenty more softball left. So
yes,
we can get all into it. Today's lineup, we'll talk through the new top 25 rankings, a bit about week 9, and then our interview with Arizona's Sydney Stewart, which we're thrilled to have you guys tune into. And then we have our plays of the week and our win and whiff of the week. All right, let's just jump right in. Top 25. Sure. Some shakeups at the top in particular this week, and just some of the movement that we've been seeing all year round with all of the upsets and just incredible games that we've seen. So if we take a look, of course, Texas still holds the top spot after sweeping the SEC series at Missouri. Oklahoma rises back to number 2 in the poll. They went 3-0 in their conference bye week. And then number 3, Texas A&M, number 4, Florida State, number 5, LSU, rounding out the top 5. The Aggies did sweep the doubleheader over Georgia. Their game 3 was canceled due to rain, which was a bummer. But the 2 games they did play, they came out on top. And then Florida State and LSU got wins in their series over Virginia and Alabama, respectively. Arkansas was the biggest riser this week. They're up 5 spots to enter the top 10. They're at number 8. They obviously took the series at Florida, and then they got a Monday victory over North Florida too. And then Washington joining the top 25 for the first time this season. They sit at 25. Swept Wisconsin. They have a 29-9 overall record, and they have a 9-game winning streak right now. Still 6 conferences represented. The SEC still leading. They have 11. ACC has 5, Big Ten 4, Big 12 3, and then the American and Conference USA each keep 1 in the rankings too. So that is this week's lineup. Amanda, gut reactions to this?
Yeah, so Florida moving down as much as they did, and that was pretty consistent in all the polls of them moving down, right? I'd say the loss that is the most concerning to me is the UCF loss, right? So yeah, that's the one that really stands out as a bad loss, okay, in my book. But they lose at Florida State. They lose 2 at home to a really good Arkansas team, right? So those, I don't categorize those as bad losses. If you look at it, yeah, should they have won on paper? Maybe, probably, but they're not bad losses, right? Still sitting at 7-5 in the SEC. So then when you go to like the compare game, South Carolina for us, correct me if I'm wrong, at 6 in our poll this week. You compare South Carolina to Florida, okay? If we're gonna go head to head. South Carolina is 6-6 in the SEC. Florida is 7-5 in the SEC. Florida has wins against Texas and 2 wins over Texas A&M without their ace on the road. Right. So I think you start to play the little compare game of, but unfortunately you just have to go with now, right? So based on what happened last weekend, you kind of have to move and with trends, right? So that was at a time when Florida was trending up. And exciting over winning 2 games on the road at A&M without your ace. And then now you have your ace back. Maybe she's not at 100% yet. And you are at home and you drop 2 to Arkansas. Yeah. So I think that's where you kind of go through everything as you keep going throughout the season. It will level out. But again, and Tennessee's in a similar spot. Obviously, they win the series at OU, which is huge and definitely more of a statement than Florida winning the series at A&M. But they're also sitting at 7-5. So I think just a lot of playing into what happened right now instead of what happened the whole season. And I feel like, as you get more of that resume building and more conference games under your belt, that starts to show. But then the flip side, Arkansas, I think that they've been steadily kind of climbing, right? Like really finding their stride and playing to their ability, and excelling. Like we've talked about Brie Ellis a lot. She had another huge series, and even when she was tried, like they were like, okay, enough. We're just gonna walk her. Ella McDowell had something to say about that. So I think they really proved that it's not just the Brie Ellis show. That there's more than just her. Robin Heron had a great weekend as well. So I think Arkansas, seeing them kind of steadily move up in the rankings is awesome, because it really feels like they're creating a really good resume for themselves. Obviously huge winning the series at Tennessee, and then even bigger going into Gainesville. That was their biggest series win in program history. And I'd seen something like they've been winning the last 6 years, like since 2019 was the last time they lost a series in Gainesville or something crazy like that. So if you're the Gators or a Gator fan, you don't love that. But as far as Arkansas and just where their program is at, that's really exciting for them. So that was probably my biggest takeaways from this week's rankings.
Yeah, I think it's a good point that you make about the trends, because whether pollsters, people who contribute to the poll, are consciously thinking about the trends or not, I still think it tends to reflect in what those polls look like once they submit what their lineup looks like. And I will say, I actually still had Florida higher up in my individual submission.
Thanks for saying that. I didn't want to yell at you here.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't want to like beef with you right now. Our viewers don't need to hear that. They don't need to see that. So I'm glad you put that out in the open. So you and I don't need to beef like that.
Yeah, we don't need that. There's enough going on in the world.
We need this podcast to keep going on the way that it normally does.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, to your point, because of what they've done the whole season, right?
Sure.
Like, and I think there's still a lot of SEC play left. I think that Florida's going to be fine, But yes, the other thing that I thought was interesting is that Georgia actually dropped out of the top 25. And
I didn't even notice that.
Right? Because they've established themselves where you kind of just assume they're there somewhere,
Totally.
But them dropping out, and I think that does have to do with the trends. So they were at number 25 last week, but then they went 0-3 last week. They're 25-13 overall. But I think with the SEC tournament hosted in Athens too, I think you can always get some possible magic going in that situation. And I know you'll be there, so that's exciting.
Yes.
And then UW entering. So the fact that Georgia dropped and then UW enters, I've kind of been keeping my eye on them. They've sort of been quietly chipping away in the Big Ten. They're 7-2 in conference, and they're right behind 3 teams who are all at 9-1: Oregon, UCLA, Northwestern. So I think they're, again, an interesting team to keep an eye on. Obviously, a lot of new faces on that team, but we've talked about Alexis DeBoer a lot, for example, and what she's brought to the table this season. So I think just don't forget about the Huskies,
Yeah, I think that's also a great point, because they almost started from scratch this offseason, right? So if you are a Husky fan, that's like really, really awesome and such a great sign that they are steadily moving in the right direction of just trying to build this new phase of their program and what it looks like starting from scratch, right? It's not easy. And obviously having a lot of transfers and just new faces, it's going to be a little bit of a period of learning what it means to wear the purple and gold and do all of these things. So I think it's a good sign that they've been steadily moving in the right direction and doing it the right way.
Yeah, I agree. I think Jen Salling being on staff definitely helps with that too, right, this year. Yep. So yeah, interested to see what they do the rest of the time. But I guess we can just jump into more of the Week 9 recap then at this time. So you touched on it, Amanda, because obviously one of the biggest series of the week was Arkansas at Florida. And you already went into some depth, but I think one thing that's interesting is the Razorbacks started off 19-1 in the preseason. They were crushed.
Yeah.
They went 1-5 to start SEC play. Brought up the big series that they've had that has also helped their RPI with Tennessee and then now Florida, and it's setting them up for postseason. So I think it's really interesting what's going on in Fayetteville, like you said.
Yeah, I think that you touched on that greatly. I think the best thing is seeing what teams in the middle of the season or beginning of the seasons kind of hit a lull and kind of get punched in the mouth. And to see them respond, you really find out what the true DNA of your team is, right? Like it's really easy and fun to win, and it's easy to like everybody when you win, right?
Yeah.
It's when you get punched in the face of how do we figure out, how do we rebound from this? How do we look ourselves in the mirror? How do we get better? How do we continue to trust our coaching staff, et cetera, right? There can be a lot of question marks when you start to lose.
Yeah.
So I'd see like that is the part that is exciting for Arkansas, that they got punched in the mouth a little bit, and then now it feels like they're hitting their stride even better. So you don't want to completely hit your peak in the beginning of the season. No one wants to do that, right? You want to continue to grow and build the trust and build the relationship so that by the time that postseason comes, you guys know each other in and out and you're ready to roll. Right. And I think that that's a really good sign for Arkansas, that they've had a little bit of the humps, and now it's like they're playing postseason softball in April, not hitting their strides yet. They're not playing perfectly, which is fine. No one wants to be playing perfectly now. You know, they want to keep building on. So I think that obviously the Tennessee series was huge, but also going down to Gainesville and winning a huge series, and not just relying on the Brie Ellis home run. Obviously, she still had a few of those, but they didn't have to rely on that to get a huge win. So yeah, it was, I mean, huge series. Obviously Arkansas wins game 1, 4-1. Game 2 was absolutely insane. Such a crazy game. Ended up going 9 innings. It was over like 3 hours long. The Gators end up taking that 10-7, a walk-off grand slam by Corby Otis. But in the top of the 9th, when they were kind of sort of trying to not pitch to Brie Ellis, and she gets an off speed that was not a strike and like a kind of a good pitch, and she hits it out like the go ahead home run in the top of the 9th by Brie Ellis. And I'm watching like, why are we even like anything close? Bomb just like fired up, and it seemed like all the momentum was in Arkansas's dugout. Then before you know it, the Gators with 2 outs have runners on first and second, or second and third. They walk Jocelyn Erickson intentionally to load the bases with Robin Herron on the mound. So you have a lefty on the mound, and they're choosing to walk a lefty in Jocelyn Erickson, which is a lot of respect to last year's SEC Player of the Year, to say, hey, we don't even care. We want the righty. We're Corby Otis. And Corby didn't like it. She made him pay, hits an oppo line drive home run, just like absolutely electric after your coach gets thrown out of the game. Just a lot of emotions, like a lot of craziness that happened in that game. And then they come out and they lose 9-5. Arkansas takes that, obviously. And so, so I think if you are an Arkansas fan, you're feeling really good about the way that weekend went. There was a lot of really competitive games, and offensively, Arkansas felt like they were always having something happen. I know that they left a lot of runners on base this weekend, so I think there's definitely what's crazier is it could have been even better for their hitters, but lots of hits, a lot of havoc on the base path, making things happen and putting pressure on the defense. So huge series win for Arkansas. And a lot of question marks, for the Gators. The Gators were not super happy about the way that weekend went. They're not pitching amazing, not playing amazing defense. You look at the box scores, and I don't think it's accurately showing the amount of errors that Florida defense is having. I think sometimes scorers can be a little bit generous with that stuff. But if I know anything about Coach Tim Walton, he prides himself in the way that he runs his defense, in the way that they work really hard on being elite defenders, so that there's no question mark during the game of them making the plays when they need to be made. And I think that there's a little bit of holding their breath right now of to make sure that plays are being made. So I think that in order for them to flip the script, like especially when they're not pitching as elite as they would like to be pitching, the defense needs to be completely sound. So I think,
Yep.
They're definitely going to go back and look at those and take more ground balls and take more fly balls and really look at how we can continue to be elite on defense, because that's Florida softball. No matter what, the offense has tended to there's been some peaks and there's been some valleys, but above all, they've always been able to rely on their defense and priding themselves with almost leading the country in fielding percentage every year. That's been a goal. So I would say that that's the biggest thing. Like, they need to make sure that they tighten up that way. And obviously, only scoring one run
Right.
in Friday's game, you need to score more than one run to win in the SEC. But if you ask them, the 5 runs is usually enough to win a game, but not when you give up 9. So,
right.
So that was my biggest takeaway from those series. Sorry, that was kind of a lot, but it was a crazy weekend, and a lot of good softball. It's good, passionate softball in April. So it's really cool when a series means something to a team, right? And on both sides, it did. There was a lot of passion, but to see, obviously, as a Gator myself, I don't love the reaction, right, of them winning on our field, but it's cool because it means something. Like, I love the passion and you getting really fired up, because it's really hard to win. It's so hard to win against, especially in the SEC. We say that a lot. It's a really hard conference. Like, the fans are crazy. There's always a lot of passion. And so to see a team clinch a series and be really fired up, it's really good for our game, and really exciting to watch, especially for these young ones that come out and watch softball games, right? Like, you love to see these females that are really strong and work really hard at their craft and doing something really cool with it. So I think that part is really awesome. You can tell when it means something, and it's awesome to watch.
Yeah. I mean, man, you touched on pretty much everything, and you're so right about the SEC. Obviously, it's one of those things where your RPI is automatically going to be in a little bit better position because of the competition level. But then for Arkansas to take those a top 10 against Tennessee, and then at the time, number 2, Florida, right? Like, those are big. So now they're in the top 10 in RPI. They're number 8 and then 11 in DSR. So they're even fighting for that top 8 potential seed in the postseason if they keep trending in the right direction. But I also can't wait for the Razorbacks to host South Carolina this weekend. I think that's going to be a great series to watch.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And don't worry, everybody, we will get more into everything that went on in Gainesville. But for now, we'll keep it rolling with some of the other things that went in week 9. So the Clemson Stanford series was also a big one for the ACC. And then obviously being there in person, getting to see those two teams go at it. First time the teams have ever played each other. Obviously, Clemson's such a young program. They're only in their 6th season, but still very cool to see firsts unfold. And I think there were really just 2 parts to this series. One is the fact that it was a huge ACC matchup with 2 ranked teams. Pretty straightforward in that regard. Number 17 Stanford and number 20 Clemson in our D1Softball poll. And Stanford was 4th, Clemson was 3rd in the ACC standings going into the weekend, and Duke right on their heels with Florida State and then Virginia Tech, of course, in that 1 and 2 spot. But so many implications for ACC standings, the tournament, and then, of course, postseason. Both teams can hit. Right now in the ACC after the weekend, Stanford's 3rd in batting average with 354, 56 home runs, 3rd in the conference. And then Clemson is 5th, hitting 341, and 4th, hitting 54 home runs. So they're very similar in that regard, but then they're coming off different vibes because Clemson swept Cal the weekend before, where Stanford got swept by Virginia Tech. But then you add in the football stadium, whole other layer to it, right? And Stanford had actually been undefeated at home in that stadium prior to the Clemson series. So just so many layers into it where you're like, this is just a fun softball series to watch. Then throw in the personal ties and the relationships kind of coming full circle with Clemson head coach John Rittman, obviously the former Stanford head coach, coached current head coach Jessica Allister as a player, had her on staff as an assistant. That was when I played, and they still keep in touch. They're still close. And then so for me, it was us going from, hey, we're all on the same side competing for a super regional my freshman year, to now here they are head to head in the ACC. And then I get to call the series. Just crazy full circle stuff.
So cool.
Really, really cool. But then just cool to see alumni show up too. Saturday was a tailgate, and there were classes represented across at least 20 years from the program who either played for Rittman, played with Alistair, or they might have even just recently played for Alistair, some of the young ones too. And then Ramona Shelburne threw out the first pitch. And she got to talk with me and with Coach Rittman about the tree union, as we've been calling it. So you can look at that on our social channels. And then if you listen to the latest In the Circle episode, Eric Lopez and I dig deep into this series even further, into everything that went into it. But just one of the other really good series that we were able to witness this past week.
So good. I love all the ties too. I loved staying updated on social media just to see, Coach Rittman talking to certain people. I loved that interview on our socials of just, I'm sure it was pretty crazy for him to go back. And then also just like a different kind of surreal, like seeing, a program that he obviously loves and cares a lot about, and also like playing in the football stadium. Like, I'm sure that was really cool for him, and different, like feeling like a kind of a homecoming, but not really, because it wasn't, the same place. So yeah, really, really cool. Lots of moving parts, and really, really exciting.
Yeah. And actually his son played, both of them played football actually in college. His oldest, Justin, at UCLA, but Jake, the younger one, played at Notre Dame. So Coach Rittman had been back for football games.
Oh, wow.
At Stanford, but not for softball. He went for a couple times, to see his son. But so this was, again, more ties. It's like the list just gets longer, but yeah.
Another one quickly, obviously we'll touch on this a little bit later, but Oklahoma State at Arizona.
Yes.
I'm still getting used to all of these being conference games. It just still doesn't feel right yet, I should say. But obviously that was a big series. And Arizona loses the first game 4-2, has a huge response in a 5-inning win, 12-4 in game 2, and then a huge shutout for the Wildcats, game 3, in order to win that series 3-0. We've talked about it a lot, but Ruby Malin is having a great year, with not a lot of wins to show for it. So I know that it seems like on paper, like, Arizona should take that series, but you still have an elite All-American, or multiple All-American caliber pitchers in the circle that you have to compete against. So that's still a really huge, huge win. And then I go down to Texas Tech, another sweep for them. They're 11-1 in the Big 12, which
right.
I feel like we've talked about Arizona a lot, and I know we spoke about this last episode too, but it just seems like we're used to Nigeri Kennedy just doing amazing things. So it almost like,
totally,
how many times do we need to say it, right? So even though it's immaculate, like we're not talking about it enough. And so we talk about Arizona. Arizona's 10-5 in the Big 12. So Texas Tech is really running the show over there. With another sweep. So definitely someone to keep an eye on as we keep going, and probably need to talk about a little bit more. Obviously, always giving Nigeri Kennedy her flowers, but we're just used to this at this point, Nigel. It's what we expect from you. We expect all of these huge wins. No, I'm kidding. You're amazing, and we need to talk about it a little bit more, in my opinion.
No, you're totally right. Can't take her for granted, right?
No, we can't. Like, we still have her in the college game. We need to keep talking about her.
1,000%. Could not agree more with that. Seriously. And yes, that they're rolling, to your point. Like I had to like double take. I'm like, they've only lost one game in conference play. Wow, that is impressive. Yeah. And so then you look at like, okay, well, who all is 10-5? Because there's a few teams that are kind of in that same tier underneath them. And you mentioned it, Oklahoma State, Arizona. Obviously, people had their eyes on that. But the fact that it was a super regional rematch from last year, too, like layers to this. That was in Stillwater, of course. And the Cowgirls, like, they really flew right through it. They won back-to-back games. They rolled in the first game. I think they outscored them like 18-4. But this time, okay, now you're in Tucson. You're at the Rita. You're on the Wildcats turf. And to see them make the statement to come back and win, like you said, was so important. And then the run roll right in that game too, to like make an even bigger statement. It was their 4th run roll over a ranked opponent this year too for Arizona. So that's pretty crazy to think about. And then I think I mentioned before too, they've won 4 series in a row. So that's pretty impressive. But all the ties for this too, like new as a conference, like you said, but so many familiarity pieces in this, like from the Big 12 tied to the Pac-12. Ruby Malin and Sydney Stewart were former Washington teammates.
Yep.
Arizona has seen Malin obviously throughout her career, and she's seen them. Kiki Escobar is from Oregon State, and she's faced Malin too, as well as the whole team. So there's a lot that goes into it. But that also familiarity goes both ways. It's like, yes, the hitters know her, but she kind of knows the hitters a little bit too. So it was something we were obviously really interested in seeing. But
new faces and new places, working with different coaches as well. I think, they're different versions of themselves, like the Sydney Stewart at Washington is not the same Sydney Stewart that is wearing the Wildcat uniform. So I think that also adds a layer of, you might think that you're coming in and facing someone who has X, Y, and Z, but they really have A, B, and C that is working for them this year. So it is fun to see the familiar faces and then also see like how different. I'm sure, what they expected isn't totally what they got, which is good. Like that's what you want. You want the growth piece. But it's always fun to watch it as a fan.
Yeah, 1,000%. It's like what it's about, right? Yeah. And then I do want to give a shout out to just the bats in the Big Ten also. They are breaking multiple offensive records for their programs and reaching just a bunch of different milestones too. I think an underrated series, for example, from this past week was Ohio State and UCLA. Obviously, the nation's home run leaders in Ohio State. And then UCLA has been consistently ranked in the top tier, of our poll as well as others. And so the Bruins actually, they now have reached, after that series, a single season record of 22 run roll wins this season already. Like we're in April and they've already hit that. And then speaking of, we're talking about Nyjah Candy, let's give Caitlin Terry her flowers. She hit her first career home run and it was a grand slam. So the two-way player as well, like that legacy continues at UCLA. So happy for her. She just looked thrilled. And then actually in the same game, Megan Grant had a walk-off grand slam too. So just a lot of different things that they were able to kind of reach all at once against a good Ohio State team this weekend. Yeah. And then Nebraska has multiple school records that they've been either tying or reaching. So they now have a program high 18 run roll victories this year. They tied their single game record for home runs with 6 and their single season with 76. Penn State now has their single season home run record with 54. They reached that against Rutgers. And then Indiana scored, this is an interesting one, 15 runs in the 4th inning versus Maryland. But they also the pitching staff allowed 15 walks in that game. So it ended up being 20-10, just a crazy, those are just crazy numbers. I don't even know if those are milestones as much as just craziness.
That sounds like a miserable softball game.
Yeah. And I'd have to look at the box score to see how long it was, but I'm sure it was absurd.
Yeah, that's not a good sign of some good softball going on.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That started teetering. Yeah, because then you're like, okay, well, let's look at the pitching.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, I'm all for the offense, but at some point, like, that's crazy.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. And it makes sense when I started digging more into the numbers. There's only one pitching staff in the conference that has a sub-2 ERA in conference play and overall, and that's Oregon. The West Coast teams are all the top 3 for those. And then they also, though, have, and you mentioned this with Florida, they have some of the best fielding percentages. So there are less free passes, too. So less errors, less home runs allowed. They're keeping it in the ballpark, less walks. So it's very clear, like, okay, which teams, what's working. Keep it in the ballpark. Don't let runners get on freely too much. Hit the ball. It's clear what's happening in the Big Ten, but still some crazy numbers going on.
From the back room, we got 4 hours and 29 minutes.
Oh my God.
On the box score.
That's insane.
That should never happen for a softball game.
Oh my gosh. I just did a baseball game that went 10 innings. So it's just one extra inning for baseball, right? But it was 4 hours. And I was like, this is so long.
Yeah.
This would never happen in softball. And then here we go.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's brutal.
Yeah. That's a lot. It's hard to stay focused, like sustained focus through that whole time.
Yeah.
Crazy. Well, limit the free passes, guys. And the ball's right down the middle.
Yeah.
That's what we've learned, I guess. And then the last thing I wanted to mention from this weekend too is just the Sun Belt, because even last week, before going into the weekend, 3 teams were tied for first in the standings: ULM, Georgia Southern, and Marshall, and they were all picked 7th, 8th, and 9th in the preseason poll, which is interesting. Coastal Carolina was 5th in the standings, but they were the only mid-major team in the top 25 in both RPI and DSR. And remember, they beat South Carolina, and they've also beat some power conference folks like Notre Dame, Kentucky, Georgia Tech twice, Wisconsin. So Georgia Southern getting the series win over Coastal Carolina was huge for them, because now they're just at the top of the conference standings, 9-3 on their own. So that's an interesting, that's just an interesting conference right now. It's obviously not what expectations were necessarily going into it. And I kind of love that. I love to see people just like shaking it up. So just wanted to call that out too.
Love it.
Yep. And then, of course, quick shout out to our weekly award winners. The National Player of the Week, Megan Grant, already touched on some of the things that she's done. She's also tied leading the Big Ten in home runs this year with 17 right now. National Pitcher of the Week, Tegan Cavan from Texas. Her first career no-hitter versus Mizzou, which I was like, how is this her first one? I feel like she's probably already thrown multiple based on what we've seen her do. But 3 appearances, 2-0 on the weekend, 2 complete games, a save, 26 strikeouts, no walks, 13 2/3 innings pitched. I think the moral of the story is that you come on the D1Softball podcast and then you ball out. That's the learning there.
The numbers don't lie. And so if we should start a competition on social media. Like, if you want to have a big weekend, then come on the D1Softball podcast.
Just saying. And you actually mentioned our National Freshman of the Week, Ella McDowell from Arkansas. So you talked about some key moments that she had, but 769 average, 6 RBIs, scored a few runs. And this is at Florida, right? We're not going up against like Joe Schmo here. This is a good team that she was able to do that against.
With lots of pressure hitting behind Brie Ellis. They kept wanting her up to bat versus having Brie, kept intentionally walking Brie, and Ella made the Gators pay multiple times.
Yep. All very well earned. Yes. So with that said, we said we'll talk more about Oklahoma State, Arizona, and we'll do that a little bit with today's guest. Let's head into it. We are so excited to be joined by Sydney Stewart, Arizona pitcher and utility player, and 2024 All-Region honoree, and 2023 World Series participant. Sydney, we are thrilled to have you. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I feel like watching you guys lately too, Arizona just seems like you all seem locked in. And obviously the team had a great preseason, and now you've won 4 straight series in conference play. So just what is that conversation like? What is the vibe in the locker room right now?
I would say our team dynamic is like nothing I've ever been a part of. It is insane, and we get along so well. And I think a really big part that played into that was having the opportunity to go to Italy this summer and getting to spend 10 days in Trieste, and getting to play against the national team, and also just getting to like tour around Italy together. Meanwhile, I literally committed like on a Monday, and I was in Tucson on a Wednesday, and then we left on a Friday. So this is all new to me, but the girls were awesome. They were so welcoming, and I think that had a really big part in our team dynamic now, and just how well we like flow together, and it's awesome.
And I love that you bring that up, because obviously this is your first year with Arizona, but you're no stranger to the collegiate game and how to be successful. But coming into a new program for you, and obviously assuming some leadership responsibility and trying your best to lead as a first year player in a new program. So how vital was that Italy trip for you to be able to build those relationships so that by the time when you were really on campus and in the midst of things, you were able to take some of those leadership qualities and lead the team with, with some trust behind it.
It was very vital because I was getting in on the bullpens, getting to learn our pitchers. We have 8 pitchers, so getting to get to know them early on, like that was very beneficial. And now when I'm catching our pitchers, I'm like, okay, I know you, you know me, like the dynamic is great. But in terms of leadership, like it's not that it's okay, you're an assigned leader. Like the leadership role is up for grabs for anyone. Like everyone has a role, everyone contributes in their own way. And I think that's what's so awesome about our team is that we don't have assigned captains. Like there's nothing like that. It's like, okay, you're going to take on your role and you're going to do the best with that role that you can. And just if you're 100% with that, then it's going to benefit the team just as much. So,
I mean, that's a lot to manage too. 8 different pitchers in the bullpen, especially being in a new place, in a new conference, all of those things. But also some of your pitchers hit too. And obviously you're a hitter, which we love to see. I know Amanda's thrilled to talk with a hitter this week. Finally, we've been talking to a lot of pitchers, so we're so excited to have you. But when it comes to those conversations, what are the conversations like? Like, especially, is it different with people who focus on pitching versus pitchers who hit, like a Devin Netz or a Miranda? What are those conversations like?
I think having the ability to have people that hit and pitch on the team is so beneficial because one, having us back to back to back, right, in terms of lineup with Devin before me at the 4 spot, me at the 5 spot, and Miranda at the 6 spot, like we feed off of each other. So we already get the benefit of being a catcher and pitcher because you know the spin, you have that advantage. And just our communication, whether that's like we're facing pitching machine, prepping for the weekend off a pitcher, or whether that's in the game, like, and after someone's at bats, like, hey, I didn't get the job done, but you're going to get the job done. Like, just having that sort of talk. And it's just really cool because I don't need an extravagant, like, plan on, okay, the pitcher threw this. Like, no, it could be just as simple as, like, hey, like, it's up and in, like, get your barrel there. And, like, that's just our, like, flow is super cool. And I think that's why we're so successful in those certain aspects is because we have that pitcher-catcher advantage of, okay, I know a spin, I know the pitcher's tendencies because I'm in it every day.
8 different pitchers. That's a lot on a catcher who deals with, I'm sure they're all completely different too. So dealing with a lot of different personalities and, you have to be the one to know what to say to calm them down in the circle. And so I would love to hear if you have a certain catcher that you have looked up to as a softball player throughout your career and what you try to learn from that particular person as you keep going.
Yeah, it's Deja Mulipola. She is literally my idol. And it was cool because at Washington, I had the opportunity to actually practice with her. And she came out, she was training with us, and I got into some reps with her. We were doing throwdowns, just talking shop. And I'm like, there is no way that I'm like literally working with her right now. And then full circle moment, I end up here and we stay in conversation sometimes and just like here and there. And I know she's in Japan right now, I think, but I think it's super cool to like see like kind of the path she's built and then I get to follow in those footsteps. Yeah.
So cool. It's funny how the game knows, isn't it? Full circle moments, all of those things.
It's crazy. Yeah. I was talking to Devin and I was like, my freshman year at Washington, they came to Washington and she was pitching and I remember I was like, dude, you were like nasty. I remember I'm like, who is this girl? And then she came up to hit and I think she had like an 11 pitch at bat and I'm just catching up behind. I'm like, I think our pitcher ended up calling timeout because like the bat was going on for so long. But I was like, this girl is literally a boss. And the fact that I get to play with her, the fact that like she didn't play last year, she took that season off, but I get to like play with her and grow off of she's just a boss and I just respect her so much. So.
Well, and that's what's so cool too, is that you have those prior ties, right? Like, and you said in the fall, I love my new home. Like you're just loving it there in Tucson. And I would just ask you, like, what were your expectations then? Because you played against them, of course, in the past. And how did that compare to reality? Was there anything that you didn't expect?
Honestly, the journey was a little scary at first, just because like the recruiting process, like initially as in high school, it was COVID, like didn't really get to go on visits, right? And I was set on Washington because my dream school, like at the moment, and it worked out, right? But then with down the path, like things happened, and I'm like, I get to enter in this space, and I get to see it as a blessing because not a lot of people got this opportunity that were in my class to go on visits. And Arizona was my first visit, and off the bat, like I knew like something felt different. It was like sentimental almost, just because how much of like how family oriented like this program is, and just the girls that showed up. And I played against some of the girls in travel ball in high school, and just getting to like know them deeply, like before we'd comment on like each other's Instagrams and stuff, but I didn't truly know them. But getting to have them on my visits and everything. And then I think too, what was big for me is just being in the sun. Like I stepped out here and I'm like, wait, like I'm in the sun, like I'm happy, this is great. And yeah, I think just all those elements played a really big part in my decision. And I'm telling you, I tell people this, like I have grown not only on the field, but like as a person being here, like it's insane. And I've been here for 7-8 months now, but from the 2 month point, like I already felt a difference. And it's awesome thinking about it.
Yeah, you spoke about growth. That was going to be my next question, was just, the difference between 2024 Sydney and 2025 Sydney. Just talk about that growth. I know you touched on it just a little bit, but go a little bit more in depth for us of how much you've grown in Tucson, and what area of your life do you feel the biggest growth? It could be on the field or off the field. Obviously, you feel it both, I'm sure, but I would love to hear just a little bit more about that.
I think overall, just my confidence, like I feel like confidence plays the biggest role in everything on the field, off the field. And I made a point last year, like I had my certain goals, right? Like I wanted to be all conference, I wanted to be all region, and I reached some of those goals, but just growing off of that. And Amber Freeman has helped me so much this year, like just to set my goals and just to like go out there and just like to not think like whatever happens, and to know that like I've been there before, and I've been through slumps, I've been through it all, and this is my third year, which is crazy to say. Like I feel like I literally was a freshman like yesterday, but just growing off of that. And I think I look back and like my softball IQ has grown like so much, and it's insane to think like, wow, like freshman Sydney like is totally different than junior Sydney. And also too, I think the biggest thing has been stepping into like that leadership role. And Coach Kate has made it key that like, hey, even though you're a newcomer, even though it's your first year here, like people look up to you. Like this is your third year playing D1Softball, and it's important that you step into that role, and no one's going to be like, hey, she's new, like she can't be like leading this way, right? So that's what's also been awesome, is because like freshman, sophomore Sid, like I would lead by example, right? But I wouldn't really speak up in moments. There was moments where like in between innings, I'd stutter so much, and I'm like, Leah, like I literally like, but stepping into it now, it's like I have that confidence because I know that my teammates, they trust me and they look up to me, and that I have a role to fill. So
it's so cool getting to hear this deeper insight, right, to you as a person, because anyone can look and see, okay, wow, in her 91 games she played at UW, you had, I think it was 7 home runs and 28 RBIs, and now 39 games this year at U of A, 11 home runs, 44 RBIs already. So it's clear that something clicked. And so when you talk about the confidence, and it's not necessarily, I mean, I'm sure you're making physical adjustments too in the box and things like that, but that's not even like the core thing that has really clicked. It's all of these other things in sort of your personal development. And I just think that's really cool. So I had to say that, but also cats dig the long ball. You hit a home run in your first ever at bat with Arizona. And then obviously grand slam this past weekend against Oklahoma State. So just how would you describe for the young girls who do have aspirations to be in your type of shoes in your situation? How would you describe what is that feeling like? You know, off the bat, rounding third base. I know Lappin's like one of the biggest hype people in the game. Just what are the actual emotions like when you're making that trot around the bases?
It's insane. Just the atmosphere at Hillenbrand is crazy. Like our fans are ride or die. Like they are awesome, and just it's electric. It's insane, and also our teammates too. Like we have some of the best like hype women on the team, and just being able to like round third and just to see like your team just all like go home and just celebrate for you, it's the best. And then being able to do that vice versa for your teammates as well. Like we've had so many big moments, I feel like, in this season, and we still have so much season left, which is crazy. But it's the best feeling ever just to know that your hard work has paid off, all the preparation that you put in, like it's being put to good work. And I think that's the biggest thing too, is like I've gone through my slumps. I've gone through my slumps this year, and just being able to stay like consistent and trust that I've been through this before, I've gotten out of it, and just to trust that everything's going to be fine. Like I've done it once, I'll do it again. So I think, that's kind of the process of like how it feels like to play at Hillenbrand, just trusting your teammates, having your coaches having your back. It's awesome.
You keep talking about your teammates, and just I can hear in your voice about how much fun you guys have together and how close the group is. So obviously you are having a great year, putting up All-American numbers up to this point. So how much do you think that affects your personal success when you feel like everybody in the dugout is in the box with you, that it's not just you competing for you, you're competing for a whole team and your coaching staff? I can hear it in your voice, and it's really special, but just help our listeners really understand how much easier it is to compete when you have that kind of relationships going on.
Not everyone's going to feel their best every single day. Of course, you're going to give 100% of what you have, but being able to be so deep within our lineup, within the people on our team, everyone has their own talents, their own strength in their own way, and just to be able to utilize that in every single way. Like I always go back to the UCLA game that we just played, and we literally used every single person in that game, and there was no quit at all. Like we went into international tiebreaker. I think we went 10 innings. Like everyone was used. Emily Chef stepping up, hitting that bomb. Like that fired us up. And they would score 2, we would score 2. They would score 1, we would score 1. Just like there's no quit with this team. And I think it's really special, and we're going to keep using that and building off of that, and so that we can get as far as possible.
That's actually exactly what I wanted to ask you about as well. Just the bounce back that this team has, whether it's taking a series after dropping game 1, like you just did against Oklahoma State, or people recovering from injuries like Devin Netz, right? And you said everybody has their own story. What do you think it is that makes Arizona so resilient?
I think it's just everyone has one common goal. We want to go to the World Series. We want to win that last game played in Oklahoma City. And we have the fight. We have the best preparation. Our coaches put in so much time with scout, with our practice plan. So just trusting that. And what we're really good at is just like calling stuff out and like nipping stuff in the butt and working off like then and there, like that moment then and there. So we have a lot of perseverance, and I look back at our fall and during our inter squad games, like it was a dogfight even then playing against each other. We're going extra innings in practice. We're hitting walk-off bombs during our inter squads. And I think that plays a lot of tribute to our work ethic now and our success now. So just going off of our foundation of we put in the work, trust it, and keep going with it.
What is going to be the key for this 2025 Arizona team to make it to Oklahoma City?
I think just staying consistent, not riding the highs, not riding the lows, right? We've had our moments where we dropped that game one, but we know how to respond back. And just looking back in those moments, like I said before, like we've done it once, we can do it again. So just staying consistent in, like I said, in all aspects, whether that's pitching, hitting, defense, everything. So just incorporating all those elements. Mhm.
How do you think competing in the Big 12 kind of affects that sort of preparation and thought process for the postseason? Because obviously you guys still play some familiar folks to both you and to Arizona, like Utah, ASU are still in the Big 12, and then even non-conference, you played Stanford and you mentioned UCLA. But in this new conference, what are your thoughts on that experience?
I think that there are World Series caliber teams within this conference, and we've seen it all this season that there have been so many upsets in terms of not even the Big 12 conference, but just all over D1Softball. And it comes to show that truly, like, it's up for grabs for anyone. And I feel like this year has been so competitive in terms of like all competition that just looking back on our prep and being like, okay, like this is a World Series caliber team that we just played against, and it's very likely that we will face them again later on in the season. So just getting our preparation off of that and working off of those games.
So good. Would you rather catch a no-hitter or hit a walk-off home run?
Ooh, I would say hit a walk-off home run because it hasn't happened yet in my career. But I just caught my first perfect game against Devin, and that was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't know until literally the top of the fifth.
Good.
So, yeah, you
don't need that pressure.
No, but no, I'd say walk-off home run just because it hasn't happened yet. Hopefully it will. But yeah.
We're manifesting that.
Yes.
100%. Also,
I was hoping for an offensive answer.
I had a feeling.
I was hoping. I was like, hopefully we have a true hitter over there.
Yeah. She knew.
Yeah.
But that's I'm a believer where catchers should get credit for no hitters, perfect games too. 100%. I feel that way. I'm sure you agree. I'll ask you for your official take, but yeah. Okay. That's what I thought.
Yeah, I agree. It was cool because Coach Kendra actually came with us on that trip, and Devin was like, I think talking to media after Coach came up to me and he's like, hey, like that could not have been done without you. And I'm already like, Coach, like I'm literally like, did Coach just tell me that? Like, but I was like, thank you so much, Coach. Like, I really appreciate that. Like, it's really good to hear that, well, not only just from someone, but from Coach Kendra. Like, it's really nice. Yeah.
Okay, so I got a little inside scoop on some things. So I would love for you to share with us, what does the song Defying Gravity mean to you?
It's so silly. Like, so Wicked, the movie, of course. Yes. I don't even know how it started, but me, Miranda, and Devin have this inside joke where we'll sing Defying Gravity from the movie Wicked, and literally it's just like a little kumbaya for us. Like, in big moments we'll grab each other and we'll just start harmonizing. Like, I don't sing. Miranda can kind of sing. Devin can sing, actually. But yeah, it's just like silly moments, like times we need to like relax and calm down, bring a little fun into it. We'll literally grab each other. We'll even do it like pregame on the line, like we're all next to each other, and start singing. But I'm hoping someone could get like a glimpse of it, like whether that's like a camera or something. But you have to be there. It's amazing. It's so fun.
Now our eyes are going to be peeled. We're going to be watching you to make sure that we can. Then we feel like we're inside of the know, knowing that something magical is happening over there. They're hitting some bars.
Some's happening over there. So we were saying we have our coaches have like in staff meetings all the time, and they choose people from each team did like do like a student athlete talent, right? So I think baseball did like they were playing the guitar, and then track did someone started singing, and we're like, I think softball needs a representative. So we were like, let's have us three go in, maybe give them some like comedic relief. But that would be insane.
I love that. I have
Mhm.
not seen the movie yet, which I know is like,
Mhm.
how is that possible? I know I'm the problem.
Yeah.
I'm aware, but I did see the play like 10 years ago
Yes.
or so. So I
Mhm.
relate to just Defying Gravity just hits different, you know? It
Mhm.
really does.
Mhm. It does.
And you guys always defy gravity. It feels like hitting all the bombs you hit also in
Oh, yeah.
Tucson, to be fair.
Yeah. Mhm. Having us back to back, like, just that dynamic, it's nothing, like I said, nothing I've ever been a part of before, so it's really cool to have, and, I just love those girls so much.
Well, we've loved having you today. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
doing this. It's so great
Of
to get to know
course.
you as a person. You know, I think that's me and
Mhm.
Amanda, some of our favorite parts of this.
Thank you
Yes.
so much.
Thanks
Yeah.
for coming on, and we can't wait to keep watching you thrive, and good luck
Thank
the
you.
rest of the way.
Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for having me.
She's adorable. Although I feel like we use that every time. Every time you and I get off with a guest, we're like, oh, she was so cute. She was so nice. She was so this. But add her to the list.
Yes, so great, so fun to hear from her and just hear about her growth as now her third year in college softball, and obviously at a new place in Arizona. So really fun to get to chat with her and hear more about who she is as a player, and just kind of get a little bit more of an inside scoop to what's been working at Arizona.
Totally. Totally. Well, with that being said, we can head into our plays of the week. So mine is first this week, and I think I'll say two words: Nigeri Kennedy. Amanda said it earlier. We need to, talk about her a little bit more, not take her for granted. Well, this is a great example of that. Let's watch.
Utes have the second, no runs, no hits, no errors.
Just great, like iconic. I mean, athlete, exactly. Like everybody calls pitchers who hit two-way players, but for me, I'm like, but they can field too, you know.
Yes.
So I like to call them three-way players, honestly,
Yes.
triple threats. But she's hitting over 300. Her ERA is under 1, and she has a perfect fielding percentage. Knock on wood. But kind of makes sense why they're in first place when that's your leader.
Not too shabby.
Yeah.
All right, we're heading into my play of the week. Touched on it a little bit before, but just to set the scene, we're in the 9th inning. The Gators are down by 1 with 2 outs. Jocelyn Erickson just got intentionally walked to load the bases. They wanted to go after Corby Otis rather than the 2024 SEC Player of the Year, and this is what Corby had to say about it.
Heron last night. The 0-1. Hit well to right field. It's over the right fielder's head. It's over the fence. It's a walk-off grand slam. Somehow, someway, Florida wins.
This swing by Corby Otis, she was ready for it. She got this rise ball up and outside. Her swing tailor-made for pitches up in the zone. She goes after what she wants. She gets it, and she sends it the opposite way out of the yard. Walk-off grand slam for Corby Otis. No moment bigger for her than right there. They walk Jocelyn.
Just crazy. Like not just a walk-off hit, like a walk-off grand slam after your coach gets ejected. It was alumni day, so I saw Aubrey Monroe and Lauren Hager just absolutely going nuts after that huge swing. But just really cool. You love to see, like, you know, what a feeling it is to have the other team say, like, hey, we want to go after you. You're our choice. We're going to intentionally walk the person before you. And so really cool to see her step up the same way that Ella McDowell did a lot this series, was when, you know, Florida chose to go after her, and she had the same issue that Corby had with it and wanted to make him pay. But obviously a lot of passion, just a huge moment. And God, it was crazy. Huge.
Shout out to the Oppo Taco too. I mean,
yeah, like to hit an outside pitch like that with that much authority, like you knew that was over her head with just the height of but it was a line drive. That was not a bomb. That was not a bomb opposite way. Like that was a line drive shot.
Yep.
That went over the fence, which is more impressive to me than even just a home run. But to go opposite field with that and hit a grand slam was really impressive in Gainesville, because in the South it's humid. It is not easy to hit home runs in the South. Okay. We talk about Arizona and how much the Wildcats love the long ball. Well, the ball likes to fly in Tucson. Okay. Yes. It loves to fly in the desert. It does not love to fly in the South. So it's even more impressive that she was able to hit a pitch like that out.
Yes. Very true. All true. And you said it, alums, all of it. Just chef's kiss.
That's super cool.
And we also have, it's hard to follow those up because those are both really pretty epic, but we do have our win and whiff of the week. So for our win this week, it's something that we mentioned last week. We talked about it when the news came out that Florida State head coach Lonnie Alameda had announced her breast cancer diagnosis. And we heard and read some words of support then, but it really didn't take long to actually see that support in the wild. So let's take a look.
Monday at the softball world got a little bit shook. Lonnie Alameda, the head coach at Florida State, announced publicly her diagnosis with breast cancer. The ACC quick to jump on and support her through her battle, the breast cancer ribbon with the iconic Lonnie braid, and you see her initials there, LA, but Georgia Tech wearing those shirts in pregame. There are stickers for the helmets. I believe head coach Lindsay Leftwich at North NC State was the one to quick and jump on and make a ribbon, get stickers for everybody, get them sent out. But you see the ACC and really across the country supporting Lonnie Alameda. She is so special to so many, not just her program and her alum, but so many that she's touched from her time at Stanford. And even personally, she recruited me. We've kept in touch. She's just a great human that our sport benefits from.
And will continue to coach this season through treatment, as Florida State picked up an emotional win today against Virginia.
Just they said it so well too on that broadcast. Just everything that went into it, and to see not just that clip, but the photos on the side too. If you're watching on video, like when they played Florida, Tim Walton and the team are all wearing pink, you know, in the pregame and in support of her. So it's not just across her conference in the ACC, which we saw. You know, even Louisville has like chalk and paint the design with her braid and the ribbon on the field. Duke has stickers on their helmets, but then there's Florida, one of the biggest rivals. And then even Florida Gulf Coast, they're holding up their signs that say, "I fight for Coach Alameda." So it's her conference, it's her region, and then it's just all over the place. So just love to see it.
Yeah, what a testament to like what kind of human she is, and just really cool, really, really awesome to see. And obviously that picture, especially of Coach Walton and Coach Alameda at home, you could see the tears in her eyes. Like it meant a lot to her. So really cool to see her receive that kind of love. And I know that she feels the love, and that can only help in her treatment and feeling the support from everybody. So really cool to just see how special our softball family is, and the way that it steps up for one of our own, because we love our little community over here, this softball community, even though we might be fans of different programs and have different opinions, but when it comes down to it, that's definitely one of our own. So it's really heartwarming to see the way that the whole country wanted to show her love.
Bigger than softball, for sure.
Always. Yeah. All right. And then a less warm and fuzzy moment. We've got our whiff of the week, which you guys knew we had to talk about it. So we'll put up a little something, and then we'll get into it. So as if you're watching, there was definitely a long review in the game 2 of the Arkansas-Florida series. There was about 25 to 30 minute delay and a lot of looking at the rule book. So if you were confused watching along, so were we. So I still really don't know why this happened, but Carly Davison lays down a sack bunt. Florida gets the ball, throws her out by a few steps. But what the defense and obviously Carly Davison didn't see was the umpire put his hands up immediately and called dead ball. Arkansas then challenges the play, which I'm sure people will correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that you cannot challenge a dead ball play. That is a non-reviewable play. But they challenge the play, go back, and they come to the conclusion that they are going to give Carly Davison first base. Obviously, Coach Walton is not fired up about that, why that would happen. One, they completely missed it. It did not hit Carly Davison. There was no dead ball. So one, they missed that call. And so then to go to the review and then immediately just give her first base, I still don't have clarification on that. I guess like maybe they say, oh, if we mistakenly called dead ball, then we give the runner first base, but yet she was out by 4 steps and it was no dead ball. And then if anything, like just bring her back, bring her back and strike on the batter. So obviously it was a huge moment in the game, late in the game, tie game, and a huge momentum shift. So obviously Coach Walton and the Florida fans were not fired up about this choice. At one point during the review, the fans were yelling out at first. I mean, regardless of who you're cheering for, that was just ridiculous. And I don't understand how that was the solution. And obviously a huge moment for Ava Brown, standing 10 toes down and competing her butt off to get out of that inning.
Yes.
It turned into an inning of being bases loaded with no outs.
Yep.
And her having to figure out how to get 3 outs against this really good offense. So just crazy. And at some point they sent it to the NCAA office for more clarification. Like it was just really nuts. It wasn't just working with the SEC down in Birmingham for that review. I still don't understand in what world this makes sense, just to hand a batter first base when she didn't get hit by anything. She was out by a few steps. Like above all, like, okay, strike on the batter and bring her back.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there.
Like it just makes zero sense why she would get awarded first base. But thank goodness it didn't end up affecting the game. If anything, I think that it worked. Honestly, I would think it worked positively for the Gators, was just the amount that they got fired up. Obviously, to see your head coach fight for you in that way and then get ejected. His famous when he really gets his money worth when he tosses his hat and then kicks the dirt at home plate. I love like seeing people be like, oh, not in the fresh Jordans, like kicking the dirt. Like,
I saw that too.
Oh, come on, that guy, he knows how to clean some Jordans, number one. And he's got a lot of them. So really that's not going through his head, but I love to see it. Love to see him fighting for his team, and just I didn't bat an eye. Like it was just ridiculous. Like I just I still don't understand in what world that makes sense.
Anyone gets thrown out. Come on. Anyone.
Yeah. Anyone is going to fight for their team in that way. You would hope.
Yeah. I did get some more background info. Our colleague Justin McLeod dug into this to figure out like what the heck was going on. So yes, you laid it out beautifully, like the play itself, the call on the field, the challenge. I think what the problem is that he relayed to me is that this exact situation is actually not in the rule book. That's why these umpires are like looking in the rule book confused, because it's technically not in there. But apparently, from the NCAA side, the secretary rules editor sent out guidance at the start of the year, almost like a supplement to the rule book, that suggests that first base be awarded to the batter if dead ball is incorrectly called like that in this scenario. So that's where that piece comes from. So it wasn't just, I think this is the confusion too. It wasn't just a 25-minute video review. You said it. They did go look in Birmingham. They saw that it didn't hit her, all that stuff. But Tim Welton protested. You can protest things as well if you don't think it aligns with the rules. And apparently this year there's an effort to resolve protests in real time versus you could actually finish a game and then resolve a protest later in theory. Mm-hmm. But they were trying to do it in real time. So the long delay was mainly caused because of that umpiring staff contacting the NCAA. It was evaluating the protest. It wasn't like they were looking at the video review over and over.
Yeah.
And then technically, based on the guidance that was shared, we got the call that we got. However, so I think to me, I'm like, the whiff is the guidance, I guess. You know, it's like, why is that even how it's set up? You know what I mean?
Would never, that should never, ever like be the guidance. That is just crazy town. Like obviously whoever that guidance was written by did not play softball, because that's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah,
for
no,
you
it's
to say
insane.
that an umpire mistake would just immediately go towards the hitter. Now, if I'm the hitter, love. Thank you so much. But that's not fair. Like that is just absolutely ridiculous, especially when a moment like that, out by 4 steps, had no idea that dead ball was even called, right? And I get it. You know, sometimes if you did hear it, you're going to stop running, and that's extremely annoying. If I could have been safe, and the umpire, like I'm playing all of the systems, but you know, at some point, like the umpires affect the game, and it is what it is, right? So then bring her back. Strike one. Umpire made a mistake. It happens all the time. And that's what we use review for, right? To like, to limit those mistakes and correct the wrongs, not to double down on a wrong and actually make the wrong worse. That shouldn't happen. And that's when like the review stuff, I don't love, because just one, it just takes so long. And especially, you know, the Gator fans were wanting to watch a Final Four game and watch.
Right.
Like they were on a time limit. Okay. They were upset about the game being that late to begin with. You saw some fans leaving the stadium, which would never happen on a normal Saturday. They would stay. But, you know, there was a lot going on in Gainesville. It's not good for our game. What a whiff of a rule, like, or guidance, I guess you can say.
Well, that's the thing, not even a rule. It's not even a rule book, right? So that's a whiff in itself.
Absolutely ridiculous. Horrible call to begin with. Horrible call to begin with. Like didn't come close. So complete whiff and embarrassing. Yeah.
And I try to be I try to give umpires grace, because what a thankless job. We need more umpires, etc. But they should not affect what's happening in the game, influence like an outcome of a game, or like the fact that it went, great, they got out of it. Florida did in that case, but the fact that it ends up being bases loaded and all this, like that can't happen. Those types of things can't happen.
Totally.
Yeah.
Hope we never see that situation ever again.
Agreed. I think everyone should agree with that. Even Arkansas would agree with that, I think, just because you don't want that happening flip side, you know.
They agree. There's no way that they're because if it happened to them, they would not be happy.
No. They would not.
Yes.
So in terms of what's next, let's hope nothing of the sort is what's next. We're all in agreement there. But the D1 team's also going to be all over the place as usual. So Justin McLeod will be at the OU series at Alabama. Sooners' first season in the SEC continues. Eric Lopez and Victor Anderson, they have another In the Circle episode presented by 643 coming out tomorrow. They actually chat with Madison Shipman. So she is an ESPN analyst and, of course, a Tennessee All-American. But she was on the call for that Arkansas-Florida game. So you'll hear even more probably in the background of like what was going on with them, probably wondering what was happening, among other things. I'm going to be in Berkeley all week calling games. Cal has a midweek against Pacific, and then I'm doing the whole Florida State series at Cal over the weekend too. So I'm excited for what it means for the ACC, but then also to see Coacha Alameda. I actually do, for those on video, I got the pink nails going already for her. So anyway, yeah, very excited to do that.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I know, Amanda, you're always locked in. I love that about you.
Yeah, locked in on all the softball, got ESPN on my phone ready to roll. Even if I'm at Clemson baseball games, I'm locked in on my phone watching all the softball.
I know. I love it. That's why you're the best. And also the best, if you stuck around till the end for this too, you get the discount code. So season 25 for any subscription, monthly, annual, whatever you want to do, get 25% off. Use that code season 25. And everybody, we appreciate you. And thank you for joining. And we can't wait to continue this the rest of the season, and keep telling us what you want to hear about and who you want us to have on and all that good stuff.